All right, hey Clint, how you doing? It's so good to see you in Miami a couple of weeks ago. Here with Clint Elkins from SB Value. If you don't know SB Value, it's a group purchasing organization. We'll talk a little bit about it. But hey, Clint, how you doing? Good to see you again, sir.
I'm great. It was so good to see faces and shake hands and see real people in Miami a couple weeks ago. And of course, it was good to see you and all your team. And I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, well, definitely, it was great to connect in person with everyone and, feel some of the challenges, some of the opportunities. What were you hearing? What were some of the challenges that the caterers were talking to you about?
It's funny, with how we all got in this situation through the pandemic and all that. It seems like no one was even really talking about all that. It's just staffing, labor issues. I mean, that has corralled everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. So, it was good to hear stories from people that have done pretty well through all this. I mean, there's success stories. Like we have a client in Vermont, Abby Duke, who's just set the record, this year for how great her business is, and she's been able to pay off a ton of debt because she's found government contracts. So it's good to hear success stories. I'm a big believer in PMA, positive mental attitude all the time. So it was that was what was good about Miami was not to hear the doom and gloom, but to see people and hear how well they've done and adapted through all this stuff.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. So as far as like SB Value though, like for your example with Abby, was she able to, leverage the service through the pandemic?
She was. I mean, she was creative, and she found she had pre-planned. I mean, she had dug and she had done research and she had found, that there's plenty of these government contracts. For example, hers was, again, old Southern boy here. I wouldn't think there's a big homeless issue in Vermont, but obviously there is. And so she was able to find a government contract where they were feeding all the homeless people and put them up in hotels for almost a year now. So, there's success stories like that all over the place, whether it's, people doing online cooking classes on YouTube, anything to get attention to their business. So
yeah.
that's the stories and the conversations that I remember more than anything.
Oh yeah, well, that's some of that super creative. So what do you see as the some of the opportunities then that caterers are looking at?
Preparation, that's the biggest thing. And I've sent a lot of people Abby's way, and I'm going to keep using Abby as an example just because how successful she was. But just looking around and seeing what other opportunities are available in your area. It's I always had this thing you used to say in the racing business was all avenues of revenue. So look everywhere you can, whether it's government contracts, whether it's social, corporate, whatever it is. And I know everyone does that same stuff anyhow. And that's the good part about Cater Source or even these podcasts is to be able to get ideas from your peers and people that you can network with. That's really the biggest thing for me that came out of Cater Source was, hey, Abby had this great idea, or Jolie had this great idea, and she's over here. Why don't you go talk to her? And everyone shares this stuff, and they're so open with it.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, and again, to hear that live is great. And when we came by your booth and it was packed with people and everybody talking to you, what were they talking about SB Value? Like how were you signing up new clients? Just talking.
Yeah, certainly, and we were, Cater Source, obviously the attendance was down this year as expected, with people not being able to travel and whatnot. And honestly, not a whole lot of people having a ton of money to have extra income to be able to get Cater Source. So for us, it was really good to have conversation with people that we've met 3-4 years ago and have, spend more time with. And where they're at the point they're saying, okay, it's a whole lot easier right now to save some money than make money. So let's take a deeper look into what you guys do. How can you help us? What we've put this off kind of thing. Now we're really ready to take a look at this and dig our feet in the sand and try to save some money. And of course, there were some new clients there as well. And, it's, again, sharing those stories, sharing the success stories, sharing how you can think outside the box a little bit and keep some money in your pocket. That was the biggest conversation.
Yeah. Well, SB Value is helping to keep some of that money in the pocket, because I know we've talked over the years, and your average, I think you're saying you're saving about 16% of their purchase orders. And I was reading some of the other testimonials where they're even more than 16%. So how does it actually work? What's behind all of the magic?
Yeah, it's pretty simple, honestly. It's just leverage buying. If, for example, my children are in elementary school, and as you can tell, I'm in the South, I'm in North Carolina. So my kids' school, when they order their products, whether it's food or school supplies or whatever, they're not just using the one school as the leverage. They use all schools in 100 counties in North Carolina to leverage better pricing. That's really all a GPO is. So we represent the largest food buying GPO in the country called Premier. Premier's 23,000 companies. So we have a $7 billion annual food spend. So if you woke up tomorrow morning and you had $7 billion in purchasing leverage, you should get the best prices, the best customer service. I mean, that's how it's supposed to work. So, a lot of people don't know that there's opportunities like that out there. If you had a dump truck and you were buying fuel from your local service station, for $3.20 a gallon or whatever, or if you had the leverage that FedEx does, buying every bit of fuel that they have, you would obviously get better prices. So that's really all a GPO is. So we're able to take, traditionally how people have always bought their supplies, their products through a vendor, we're able to take and just put a $7 billion, store on top of that, and they can buy it a whole lot cheaper.
Yeah, definitely that $7 billion has got to have some big leverage. So then that's where they're seeing the purchasing power of that. That's awesome. So many people are using it. Is there any particular case studies outside of Abby or anyone that's been super successful getting it started, been with you for a while, and what are they feeling?
Yeah, there are. We have I don't know, probably have well over 500-600 catering clients now. And
oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's grown pretty well. So it's we've saved people as much as 27% off their invoices.
Wow, 27.
I had a client in San Francisco, which is a little unique place anyhow. You'd think it's a little higher there, but they had spent $730,000 with their vendor the previous year. We did a price comparison for them, saved them 27%. They put like $170,000 on their net buy. Now that's an extreme. We see 15, 16, 17% savings all the time. And John, typically it's on things that we all don't pay attention to. If you ever pull out your merchant receipts for your credit card statements or your cell phone bills or whatever it is, there's so many fees and hidden costs in that stuff. So when we do price comparisons for clients, they're all typically pretty similar. We'll save them, anywhere from 6 to 8% on center of the plate. Produce is a little higher, shelf stable stuff's a little higher. Then you get into disposables and cooking oils and spices, down invoice. That's where all the profits are baked in these programs. So we're just able to eliminate all that. So holistically, if you're spending, $250,000 a year with your supplier, and we save you 10%, it doesn't matter how you spend that 250. 10% of 250 is $25,000. Even I can do that math.
Right.
So, we have, Adam Gooch is a big success story. At Common Plea, Adam was the chef of the year in ICA last year. He saved $9,000 on one item, for the year. On one item, it's a bread. He saved $9,000. So just being able to, honestly, being open-minded. I always tell people that the biggest competition we have is skepticism. I mean, let's take a look at it. That's all.
I mean, that is real money. I mean, when you're talking about that, that's money that can go right back into the company, and not just small dollars. You're talking about significant purchases I can make by saving that. Yeah,
we actually just rostered a client in Texas that has 43 wedding venues, and he was able to save so much money. He added 3 full-time staff people, just for his procurement department to keep up. So he put 3 full-time people on with the money he saved for him.
I love that, because it's probably buying back his time or her time to do other things in the business that he was probably doing before. So yeah, that's awesome.
Florida. We just rostered one in Florida not long ago, and they used the money they saved for insurance. So they offered insurance to all their staff now.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of ways to do it. It's not just putting money in your pocket. It's being able to offer a better work relationship, better work environment for your staff.
So what are people, if I wanted to get started, what are some of the obstacles that people say, oh, it's going to take too long? I mean, how long, what does it look like to get started? How can I just, call you and hand over some of my current purchases and then you review it, or what do the steps look like?
Yeah, pretty much that's it. I mean, we'll jump on the phone. We'll do an apples to apples comparison with what you're buying now. And it takes, things take a little longer these days than they did a year and a half ago. So it takes 3 weeks or so, maybe a month to get those price comparisons done. And then, then we get your roster. The big thing for us is there's no fee, so I always tell people, and I don't want to make this sound like a sales pitch, but it's really this simple. I tell people that if you get rostered and signed up and never spend a dime, it doesn't cost you anything.
Wow.
So why would you not go ahead and get rostered, and you can shop for yourself. If you want to shop and see how much money you can save. Everything's online. The prices are live all the time.
So really zero risk. I mean, I have zero risk to potentially save, 16 to 27% of my purchase order. That seems like a good deal. I love it. I've always been a fan. Because I know some of your clients and I know how passionate they are about SB value, which makes us excited. So we're excited to share that with the catering community. And I think we've even mentioned in a couple of our other videos. It's just, it is a good deal. There's no risk. Yeah. I mean, is there anything else that you wanted to say on that?
Yeah, I mean, just the biggest thing is if we do a price comparison for you, the worst thing that can happen is you find out how well you're buying now. Maybe you are buying really, really well. We see stuff like that occasionally where we have pre-pandemic, we have clients that would spend $20,000 a year. We have clients that would spend $15 million a year, and everyone's getting the same prices. And you would think the guy that's spending $15 million is always saving money, more than the 20,000, but that's not always the case. I would encourage everyone to take a look at it. I mean, through the pandemic, John, I refinanced my house twice. I changed my insurance just because, hey, we have some time now. This is what I do for a living. So let me take advantage of what I do for a living and try to save myself some money.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. How did you get started with it? It's such a, great concept. It's awesome. What was the background?
Yeah, I always tell my children, you never know what tomorrow may bring. And that's very true for us. As you can tell, it doesn't take long to talk to me to tell I'm in the South, and we were in the racing business for a long time. I actually owned a racetrack, and I would help negotiate contracts with vendors for all the racetracks in the Carolinas and even the Southeast some. So we put together a program, said, okay, if we all group together, how much better could we buy? Honestly, the biggest thing was racing insurance. As you can imagine, that's not cheap. It was about $2,000 a night. So if we all leverage together, can we find better programs for this? So we literally P&L'd all of our expenses, take staffing out, and food costs was one of the bigger expenses we have. These racetracks, 4,000 or 5,000 people a night at some of these places, you have a pretty good food spend. So we looked into that. We didn't even know what a GPO was. We interviewed all the food buying GPOs in the country. So we kind of pulled the curtain back on all of them. And we partnered with the one that was the most transparent, and that's Premier. They have the lowest margins. And so we just took that. We found a catering company that was doing the TV compounds for a lot of the NASCAR races that we knew. So we did a price comparison for them. And one thing led to another. And there's such an opportunity for the catering space, because that obviously is the number one expense for everyone except for staffing. So if we can bring a program like this to the catering companies and save some money, it was a pretty natural fit.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, from racing to catering. I love it.
Yeah, so our president, a lot of the people out there may know, our president's a very well-known NASCAR person. A lot of you guys have children. If you've ever seen the Cars movies, his name is Humpy Wheeler. He's the horn Cadillac in Cars. So just a little side note, just a little funny note.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. So what the website is, it's not SB Value, it's wegrowvalue.com.
Correct.
www.wegrowvalue.com. So if anybody wants to go out there and check it out, definitely highly recommended. Thanks, Clint, for spending some time this morning. Love it. Love the story, love the product. And yeah, thank you.
Well, John, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm honored to be on, and hope things are well. I look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Awesome. Tell Trip we said hey.
Sure will.
All right. Bye, Clint.
That's it. Thanks. All right, John, I appreciate it.